We are the Mississippi Municipal League. We have two main missions. One of them is to educate mayors and boards of aldermen and city councilmen, and the other is to lobby the legislature on behalf of the people back home who we support.
We are at the Mississippi Municipal League Annual Legislative Conference at the Jackson Hilton. We do this every year in January, and the emphasis of this conference is the legislative session. It gives our city's elected officials opportunities to network with their senators and representatives regarding legislation that we are supporting.
Today we are working on the Citizens for Economic Development Act. We call it the CETA bill. And that bill would give citizens back home the opportunity to enact a tax on themselves if they have a specific project that they want to do. Of course, the people would have to vote, you pass it with a 60% referendum, and have a deadline or an ending date on that project.
How could this program be used?
This program could be used however the people decide they want to use it. They could build roads, they could build a city hall, they could build a police station, they could build a park system. That's the beauty of it. We're putting the power back to the people.
How would this make communities more attractive for economic development?
Well, if you can imagine, industries want to move to places where they want to live. They don't want to move to a place where they don't want to bring their spouses. They're looking for quality schools, quality streets, low crime, and you can solve a lot of those problems with a very small increase in a sales tax that you could use with the CETA Act.
This bill is needed in order to let cities and towns have the opportunity to raise revenue. Right now, the only way we can basically raise revenue to do projects is to raise property owners' ad valorem tax. Grants are out there, but you know, not everybody can get a grant every year. In fact, in our community in Morton, I have tried for years to get grant money to pave streets. Now, I've been able to get them for sewer and water projects, but I've never been able to get them to pave streets. And right now, streets, I went in office 12 years ago, and to pave a mile of street is 3 times higher than it was 12 years ago. So asphalt prices are going up. And that's what we would use in our community if CETA was to pass. I would present it to the citizens. 60% of the people would have to pass it. And then if it was to pass, we could, in 2 years, we could raise enough money to pave 5 miles of streets.
Our cities and towns need to be able to compete. People can live anywhere they want to in this country. And our cities and towns are slowly dying because we have a hard time doing what people want and giving people what people want to live there, giving them a good ball field, making sure our schools are what they should be, making sure our streets are paved. I mean, we get no gasoline tax. We have to do this for the most part on ad valorem tax. We have an aging population with double homestead exemption, and we have things that people want. And all we're asking for is the ability of our citizens to decide for themselves whether they want to tax themselves or not.
How would your community use this?
We would probably use it to improve our parks and recreation, and we would also use it to improve our streets.
What do other states do to meet these needs?
I know I've experienced with Georgia. They have something called a special purpose local option sales tax, and they are cities that have remade themselves with this in projects of building civic centers, redoing waterfronts, building new tracks for schools, building sports facilities for schools, building whole new areas of town, the infrastructure with this. And all of this is locally generated. It's locally voted on. All the people there decide for themselves what they want to do. It's classic democracy at work.
The CETA program is just Citizens for Economic Development. It's a program really that will give each one of the communities the opportunity to vote on a ballot to bring extra dollars to our communities, because we're all hurting as communities, and we need to be able to do those extra things to build the economic development and the growth of our communities. So in working with MML and the governor's office and being able to talk it out through our state, I think it's a wonderful idea for our state to move forward on the CETA program, because once again it gives the voters the opportunity to vote for or against the CETA project.
How could your community use this?
Oh my gosh, there's so many wonderful things that could happen in Meridian, Mississippi, from ball fields to arts and entertainment to streets and roads to cleaning out ditches. I mean, any program that the city would like to do in your own municipality would be able to be accomplished because it would be voted on by the constituents and by the taxpayers.
Citizens have the right to determine their their future. You know, 2/3 of the states in the United States actually have some optional sales tax, and this gives them the opportunity in Mississippi to also have that same opportunity. You know, we don't raise taxes in Mississippi, at least we haven't in my city. We try not to do that. This gives the citizens, though, the opportunity to determine what projects they want. They get to vote on those projects, and they get to determine if they really want to go forward with them or not.
What projects could be done in your community?
Well, there's all kind of infrastructure projects. They could be wastewater treatment, sidewalks, streets, drainage, any of those kinds of things that we normally tax our people for, that we don't have to. In Hattiesburg, for instance, if we were to have this optional sales tax, we could actually bring in about $10 million a year, and that's something that we wouldn't have to tax our people for.
Well, I believe it's should be up to the local municipality to decide its future. And many of us have many projects or a project that they need to do that our citizens have asked us to do, but we don't have the money to do that. The legislature can't provide it for us, and there are not grants available, and we can't put on enough ad valorem tax to pay for those projects. So we need another source, another tool in our toolbox to be able to do those things. And we need to allow our citizens the right to vote to decide their future.
How would your community use this?
We have an area that we've developed in our master plan called Southeast Ridgeland, and it is an area that needs to be completely redeveloped, and the only way to do that is to have a local option where that we could pay for the infrastructure, water, sewer, streets, drainage, and some parks. And there's no other way for us to do that except if we had the local option.
How would this make your community more competitive in economic development?
Well, obviously it would allow us to provide for more quality of life, and quality of life is what helps economic development. People can live anywhere in the United States they want to now, but because of our modern technology. But they're looking for a place that has quality of life, and when you have quality of life, then you create jobs because people want to live there, they want to have their home there, they want to have their business there, and so it is an economic development too.
This would put it back into the citizens of the town, what they can do to improve themselves. This would put it back in their hands. It's not putting a tax on people. It would make it where we could put sidewalks. We're going for a retirement community designation, and we could put sidewalks where our elderly citizens will be able to get around without walking on the side of streets. It's not a tax that the elected officials impose. The citizens are the ones that are going to decide how it's used. And it would help us tremendously in our small community.
Municipal League is made up of 289 member cities across the state, and they pay dues to be members, and we lobby for them, we provide education and training for them, and do research for them.
Tell us about the educational seminars that are available here at the Midwinter Conference.
At the Midwinter Conference, we are offering several of our core courses, which are part of our Certified Municipal Officials program. We have a certification program that municipal officials can take part in to be certified in their role as an elected municipal official. So today we're offering several of those classes: basic law, basic land use, and basic organization. We're also offering a class on retail economic development, which will help city officials bring jobs to their community through retail development.
A lot of those are just the key components of just the basics of running a city, and so it helps them as they go back to their cities and towns to maybe bring in retail, to develop their own communities, and really what the next step is to develop their cities or towns.
Today you're here for retail development, and I think everybody realizes that how important retail is to the small cities, even the large cities, because that's where the revenue comes from. The tax base that we need to be able to do the roads, do the police, do the fire, the different infrastructure is very important to us.
Thank y'all for having me. My name's Monty Luffy. I live down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and I'm a partner in Southeast Commercial, which is a full-service real estate firm. We do everything from development to brokerage to management for office, retail, industrial properties, land. How many of y'all are familiar with the International Council of Shopping Centers? Are any of you guys members? I want to tell you a little bit about the organization, kind of give you an update of some of the programs and resources which they have available to their members, and tell you a little bit about the Alliance program, which is a combination of the public and private sector. Our seminar today is talking about retail development and its importance to the communities. It's talking about how to go out and recruit retailers to your area community, and given these public officials the resources and the tools to know how to communicate with the retailers, what retailers are looking for, kind of what they're wanting in an effort to grow their retail markets in their communities.
What is some of the key advice that you have for municipal leaders throughout the state of Mississippi?
Mainly that you've got to have good, accurate information in order to recruit retailers. Retailers, when they're ready to grow, they need to know that they have the demographics that meet their requirements in that community in order to choose that community.
What kind of response have you had from the municipal leaders here today?
I think everyone is eager to learn. Retail development is a great source of revenue, and it's sales tax revenue for communities, and it's something all communities want is more retail because it leads to a better quality of life.
A typical retail development, when it comes to a city or a town, approximately how many jobs can be created, and what's the sales tax impact?
Well, it has a pretty dominant economic impact, actually. A typical McDonald's, for example, might have at least a dozen employees and do about $2 million annually in sales. So if Mississippi's looking at about a 7% sales tax collection, that would be $140,000 that would be added to the bottom line based off of a basic McDonald's. Obviously, that would escalate as you move into the larger retailers, such as the groceries or warehouses.
My message today will be to city officials. I'm talking from the city's point of view regarding tax and finance bonds, telling them what they can do with those bonds and the upsides and downsides of using them.
How can municipalities use this information to create economic development in their towns?
Tax and financing gives cities an opportunity to develop particularly a lot of retail and commercial space. It's really like in the old days they used to compete with industrial revenue bonds. These days they're competing for sales tax and ad valorem taxes.
What kind of response have you had from the municipal officials here today?
Very good. They're always interested in how they can help their cities, and particularly if it involves money.
Some of the best tips are first recognize who you are from a retail perspective, know what your demographics are, and who does and doesn't meet the criteria of your city. Then next is to display your city in a very visual way. Maps, aerial maps, demographics, thematic maps. Understand who you are and learn how to speak the retail language, and don't chase something that doesn't apply to your city.
How competitive is this?
Extremely competitive, especially for Mississippi. When you look at a retailer announcing that they're going to open 100 stores in the country this year, then you are just one of 50 cities competing for that business. And then you take it down on a smaller scale, and you are just one of those cities, so it's a very competitive business.
What success stories have you seen in Mississippi?
Well, I've worked with Philadelphia, Mississippi with David Val. We worked with them, and they were able to identify a new tractor supply for Philadelphia.
What kind of response have you got from the municipal officials who attended today's educational seminar?
They found it very beneficial. This is a very educational workshop, and definitely applaud the municipal leaders in Mississippi for getting together and learning more about how they can better bring business to their city.
What is the outlook with the current economic situation for Mississippi in the next year or two?
I think retail developers are actively looking in Mississippi and other areas to grow their number of stores, because they see now is a good time to invest in communities when prices are somewhat depressed, but they can lock in long-term transactions.
Where we're seeing more growth with developments is the grocery-anchored centers. We're seeing the value-oriented retailers, the dollar stores are doing a very aggressive expansion, and the quick-service restaurants or the casual dining restaurants. So you won't see a traditional power center in Mississippi as much as you'll see individual pop-ups of dollar stores and restaurants.
What can municipalities do to make their cities or towns more competitive to attract more retail?
Well, they can definitely improve their school systems and have affordable housings. Those two things drive growth. So the more jobs that exist already in a city, and the better the school system and the more affordable housing is, the more likelihood they have for growth, which will appeal to retailers.
Questions concerning your municipal elections. They are currently providing training in that area. I'm not sure if the Municipal League has given you some kind of information about when those are held. I know the Secretary of State's office is the one sponsoring the training courses on elections, so you certainly could call them and find out when those are being held should you need that education. You could also call me and in my office, and I'll get you to the right individual if you have an issue concerning elections. Our topic today is municipal law. It's a basic core course about general municipal government, separations of powers stemming from the Constitution, and nepotism.
As a representative of the Attorney General's office, tell us why this is so important for elected officials.
It's very important because naturally we have state laws. They are amended every year, some more than others, and we just give a general discussion about those changes and how it might affect municipal government.
How important is the continuing education that municipal officials get through this training?
It's very important. Naturally, we want public officials who are aware of the law, are updated on the current changes in the law and how they affect their municipality.
What kind of response have you gotten from the municipal officials in your class?
We get lots of responses. Oftentimes, some of the topics that I discuss will generate questions. Some of the factual scenarios may change. While we can't make factual determinations, we certainly can address what the law allows and what it would authorize a public official to do.
Today we're going to be talking about the no panic plan for presenters, leadership skills for public officials.
How important is that at the municipal level?
Well, our emphasis today is going to be on communication skills and how we present ourselves to the various publics we interact with. The people in today's class not only interact with their constituents, civic leaders, represent their communities across the state, but they're also teaching classes. They're also in leadership positions with civic clubs, campaigning, and we're going to talk about how every day is a presentation. And for public officials, there's no such thing as a dress rehearsal.
How important is that, particularly at the local level and maybe smaller communities?
Face-to-face, one-on-one interaction, there will never be a substitute for it. Now, I will tell you this, and one of our topics today will be looking at how we present ourselves through our email communications. Today, email is the #1 most widely used communication tool in the business world, in the governmental world. It is also the #1 most widely abused and misused communication tool because people do some stupid stuff with email that can end up making them look bad and their municipalities look bad.
Give us some examples.
We run through a top 10 stupid stuff we do with email, and just to highlight a couple, obviously careless spelling, careless typing, these emails that are just one long run-on sentence with no punctuation in sight. We also talk about the smiley faces, talk about overusing the reply all, and of course everybody's favorite, the folks who type in all caps, which is the electronic equivalent of screaming at the person to whom you're writing.
What kind of response do you get from the municipal officials in the classes?
We will have a lot of interaction today, and at the very end of the class, I do have various people come forward, practice those presentation skills they've learned, and tell the top 2 or 3 usable, immediately applicable tools and tasks that they've learned that they can take back and use immediately in their communities.
I've been coming for the last 12 years, 3-term alderman in Moss Point, Mississippi, and the information I've learned here has been immeasurable. It's taught me a lot about how to conduct meetings, how to respond to the public, but most of all, the laws and regulations pertaining to a city official.
I'm a first-time alderman, so I have attended for 3.5 years now, and on just a variety of subjects from how to get grants to how to have movies made in your hometown, and how to do websites. And it's I equate it with going to college and getting an education, and then you learn just as much on-the-job training, but you have to have this first.
What have you learned at these educational seminars that have helped you in the city of Brookhaven?
As I said, we have been put onto grants and people who can come into our town to help us with various projects and just a variety of subjects.
Do you think there's a value to them?
I definitely think there's a value to it. You are a city official. On-the-job training is wonderful, but you have to have the education, and MML has been invaluable in that.
I've learned so much. I've been coming 16 years, and it has changed so much in that period of time. But right now, I think the classes that we have are more educational than they've ever been because it helps our cities to move forward. We've learned so much about how to try to attract industry, to improve on our educational level, and by us being educated, we're able to pass that on to our constituents and our citizens. So this has been so beneficial for me over the years, and as we move forward into the coming years, I hope that we can pass on what we've learned to those that are coming on.
As mayor, I have completed 153 credits, and that deal with finance. We have covered the public policies, and I've learned a whole lot, not the educational part, but we also have a legislative committee that work with the legislators. So what we do is learn stuff, how to run meetings, how to meet other mayors. We network. It's just so many things, not only in the things that we get like the seminar we had today on public speaking, but we also get a chance to learn from each other, mayors from other towns, aldermen, and we just have a fun time in learning. So all these professional development, we'll finish all those. They can do the basic course when they come in to learn what they need to do. So this is very, very great. It's a very good time that we have here in these conferences.
Some of the classes, I have attended a great deal of classes with the basics as well as the advanced and now the professional development. What I've learned in these classes that really make a difference is your city is not unique from what you're going through, and that as we move this state forward, it's going to take all of the cities pulling in the same direction. I love the idea that we're doing the law, the public speaking, the budgeting. It is important that we continue to work as a unit in the state. A lot of people give us a lot of negative feedback about what our state is on the national agenda, but this MML seminar process is the best that we have going to move us as an entire state into right direction, following the laws, doing the best that we can, regardless of who the people decide to send in to represent them in the state.
This is my second term attending for 7 years, and we've had seminars on municipal law, municipal finance, all about budgeting and taxing, and of course this about public speaking and presentation, how to run a meeting, how to establish procedure, how to finance projects, and it's invaluable for, and this course today, for example, should have been available to first-year aldermen, not people like me. You got to have so many hours before you can get into a professional development course. It's too bad that first-year aldermen couldn't get in here and learn how to conduct themselves in meetings and all. I send the monthly blog out in my home, and so this was good information for me. And I always use spell check.
Okay. What is the value of these educational seminars?
In addition to winning credits for you in achievement and getting plaques and awards, it makes you a better alderman, a better understanding of people and the things that they're interested in. It makes you less interested in what you personally are for, what the city should be doing. In other words, you're trying to help your city, make yourself a better person, a better government official, if you will.
In a class such as this, our goal is that they'll laugh, they'll learn, and in this case, they'll leave with their hair on fire. They can't wait to go back and share what they've learned with others.
And how do the constituents benefit from this?
Better communication benefits everyone involved, and especially when there are hot topics going on in their communities, the way they communicate that can make all the difference in the world.
What kind of response have you had from the mayors and the council members that are participating?
It's always positive. They come here and they learn so much, and they go back to their communities feeling better prepared to serve their citizens.
Why is it important that municipal officials, elected officials, become certified?
Well, I think most people that run for public office don't have a lot of experience. They come from different professions and different backgrounds. So municipal government, local government is a unique animal. So when they get elected, there's a lot of things they need to learn quickly to be effective. So this program gives them a very basic understanding of how cities work, what their role is as an elected official. We focus on the law and ethics as far as how they should behave as elected officials. So this is a great way for them to be trained and become more effective elected officials for the citizens who elected them.
And you also have a legislative agenda. Tell us about that.
Our legislative agenda is developed every fall through a series of meetings around the state with our members. We usually have 4 to 5 priorities on our agenda that we will focus on during the session. So we are actively pursuing legislation that will help our cities, and we're also monitoring any harmful legislation that might be either intentionally or unintentionally harmful to our cities, so we can try to stop that. So it's a very intense process, and we're very involved in what's going on at the Capitol.
Are you encouraged by everything that you've seen and heard here today?
Yes, I am. We have 600 municipal officials who've attended this conference this week. We will be having a briefing over at the Capitol. We'll be taking buses in the morning to hear from our leadership, our governor, our lieutenant governor, the speaker, and several of our key committee members. And then we'll be having a press conference afterwards to promote our economic development CETA, which is an optional sales tax legislation. So I'm very excited about the involvement that we have from our members and the support that we'll see at the Capitol tomorrow.
And go look at our website. We have a lot of answers there, and if we can't get you an answer on the website, just call us.
They can go to our website, which is mmlonline.com, or they can call our office at 601-353-5854.